Gurmaigad, and thank you to members for the facilitation. We are here today because of the heroic efforts of parents of children with scoliosis and spina bifida, and because of their determination and because of their love of their children. We're also here because they never stop fighting tooth and nail. Particularly, we're here because of the parents of Harvey Morrison, Stephen Morrison and Gillian Sherratt, and they found the will, even when grieving the loss of their son, to take on this government. And I can't imagine the suffering that they've been through, or even fathom, as a parent myself, how they find strength to keep fighting. They want to know how their son and many others could have been failed so badly by the state, why children continue to be failed in the most horrifying ways. The removal of Harvey from surgical waiting lists to be treated as a palliative care patient without any discussion with his family is the most recent shocking piece of information to come to light. But what else remains hidden? What other cover-up in the hope it never sees the light of day? And let's be clear, a public inquiry is no one's first choice. People want public services to work, for the state to function properly. When things go wrong, people want to see a system that can respond. Instead, we have a system that is threatened by transparency and allergic to accountability, that looks to protect itself at all costs. When all else fails, people expect the government they elect to be on their side, not to turn a blind eye to their suffering. A government that takes responsibility, not leaders that default to spin and deflection when people are crying out for help. 8 years ago, Simon Harris promised no child would be waiting longer than 4 months for scoliosis surgery. That promise has never been delivered upon. It is a shameful chapter in this state, and it is not over. And how could this ever have happened? How could failure get stacked on failure without any accountability or action? The HSE, as we know, was set up in 2005. It was billed as some type of innovation at the time, but it had created a buffer between the Department of Health and the government on one hand, and the health service and the people within it on the other hand. At the time, Dr. Liam Toomey, who was a TD representing Fine Gael at the time, said, "One can only imagine the scapegoating that will be due to the CEO of the HSE when the government fails." Well, last year, the then Taoiseach of this state, Simon Harris, fulfilled that bleak prediction. It was put to him that he and his government had actively, consistently and comprehensively failed children with scoliosis and spina bifida, that children's spines twisted and curled, leaving them in agony, as little rib cage pressed against lungs, making it more and more difficult to breathe, that children were left waiting so long that they became inoperable. When all of that was put to the Taoiseach, he said, and I quote, "It was said to me by the then Director General of the HSE that the Executive would have put a plan in place to ensure that no child waited longer than 4 months." End of quote. So the Taoiseach of the day, the former Health Minister, saying, sure, he's only the messenger. Someone told him that they would make a plan, nothing to do with him. And that's why we're here today. That is why we need a public inquiry. It is because of gross political failure, a failure of leadership. Children and families have been left with no option. A public inquiry is their only hope. It has to deliver the answers, it has to deliver accountability, and it has to deliver real change. And that is why the process needs to be fully independent of Children, Health Ireland and the HSE. Finally, I just want to commend every single parent and their families, every single loved one of those children who have been failed by this state, and we commit on this side of the House on behalf of Sinn Féin to never give up and to continue their fight with them.
Thank you, Deputy.